blocking were better than mine were 6 months ago. Even though you messed it up. Okay, so
I was trying to aggro him there.
yeah, I saw it. So I mean, these are creeps that you're not getting because of the block, and you're not aggroing afterwards.
'Tis non-cupatory.
Okay, so what's the deal with Sniper versus Invoker, right? Part of the difficulty is that he has no projectile speed while you have slow projectile speed. Meaning, like, his attacks go instant and yours don't. The only way you can really make up for that is by proximity of you to the creeps. So this is like an Invoker and any other ranged hero that has a projectile mechanic, right? So in this case, what a really good mid laner will do is they'll aggro this creep right here, pull it so that when it's dying, it's like right here, and then they'll attack it from like right here. So they're like literally right on top of it. So what that does is it makes Sniper have to walk farther to get to the creep, and it makes it so that you can time your last hit better because you're right next to the creep. So this is like another example of what creep aggro can be used for, and you should look out for this if you're playing against, like, this is... So the way Dota works is when it comes to playing specific heroes or playing specific matchups, what I've realized in my time of playing is that if you have problems playing a specific hero or you have problems playing specific matchups, it harps on the fact that whatever mechanic is required to play that hero or whatever mechanic is required to win that matchup, you don't know it exists or you just aren't good at it. That's like the two choices. So like in this matchup, the main mechanic you need is creep aggro such that you can have creeps be really close to you so that you can make up for the fact that you have projectile speed and he doesn't. So this is just an example of something you should focus on in this matchup. Like that last hit should not...
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Cool. So I'm just trying to tell you, like, this is something that applies in general to ranged heroes. Okay, so he's... Interesting.
Yeah. You know, the 2K bracket.
Yeah, underneath the tower, I'm not going to concern myself too much.
Yeah, that went pretty okay, but then Bara charged me, so...
Yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about this kind of stuff right now. After watching a bit, I'm going to focus more on general concepts rather than specific game stuff.
Yeah.
So, just like, I'm not saying like all this was played flawlessly. It's just like I'm going to make sure we use your session to the max and not spend too much time on a specific point.
So in my opinion, the early game is always quite okay, let's put it like this, but I think I'm having troubles, especially with Invoker in the mid game, so like 15 to 20 minutes when it comes to farming, which is exactly the thing which happens to me on all of the mid heroes, I guess.
Okay.
So I don't really know when we hit like the 10, 12, 15 minutes mark, when should I go gank, when should I be on another lane, when should I go into the safe spot right next to our shrine on the right side to go farm.
Okay,
So
the way to answer your question is I'm going to talk about general concepts using examples. So, like, when we get into this game, I'm going to tell you what you should be doing and then try to tell you why that is so you can recognize similar scenarios to that. The way that you end up doing it correctly is understanding the purpose of each place on the map. Like, if I'm playing safely, this is why. If I'm playing bottom, this is why. If I'm playing top, this is why. And so, whatever you're doing this game, I'll tell you if it's right or wrong, and then why. And then next game, I'll do the same thing, and any questions you have from there, we'll go with it. I'm just re-emphasizing that you can use creep aggro to draw the creeps closer to you at any point in the lane, and it's super important in this matchup and other matchups similar to this one. So, like, these creeps should be getting dragged away from Sniper to right here, like, every time. And it's just a habit that like, it seems so basic, but when you're against a hero like this and you're playing Invoker, it's really important. So if you're against a melee hero, it's also very important when you're a hero like Invoker to drag the creeps towards you as they're dying. So the first step is to start dragging creeps towards you. The second step is you can start timing it such that they're dying when they're... So you know how creep aggro works, right? That they aggro you for 2.3 seconds, and then the timer reset is 0.7. Or sorry, so it's like... It takes them 3 seconds to reset, and then they aggro you for 2.3. So there's this like 0.7 second period where they de-aggro you and walk away. So you want to make it so the creeps are not dying during that 0.7 seconds. Because if they're dying during that 0.7 seconds, they run away from you. And then like all of your effort was for nothing. So all I'm saying is the first step is when you see these types of scenarios, you drag creeps away from the sniper. The second step is learning to time it such that the creeps die right next to you rather than like running away from you, kind of thing. So just giving you that. That's really all I can tell you from this so far, but I'm going to keep fast forwarding. Okay. So have you watched any of my coaching sessions before?
A couple, not that many though.
Okay.
I must admit.
Cool. No, that's fine. So that just tells me how much I have to explain to you. By the way, that's why because some things I find myself talking about a lot, but if you've never heard me talk about it, then I have to go into depth. So basically, the way it works is when you're losing a lane or you are not winning necessarily. What I mean by losing or not winning, like those are two different things. Losing means like you're getting crushed, and not winning means it's an okay lane, but the other guy's stronger than you. That's like what I mean by not winning. So this applies to pretty much all three lanes. So when you're not winning, the last thing that's allowed to happen is your tower dying for free. So the way your tower dies for free is when creeps walk into your tower left unchecked. So
Like
something
now.
So something that should literally never happen, meaning that you can... There's like a few exceptions, and the only exceptions are if you're not physically capable of defending the tower without dying. So for the most part, you can kind of just assume you're never allowed to let this happen. You're just not allowed to let creeps go into your tower in any lane. If you're a safe laner, if you're an off laner, if you're a mid laner. So with that being in mind, what's the only thing you check when you're deciding whether or not you go jungle around this time in the game?
If the creeps are coming to my tower.
Exactly. So what happens is you rewind, you go pick up this rune. You pick up this rune right here. That's fine. Because right now you're like not winning the lane and you're fine. You want to pick up the rune? That's fine with me. I'm not going to argue this decision. Where should your player perspective be right now?
On the sniper on mid and
Yes.
checking if
And
he
you see
pushes
this.
the creep.
So you're seeing this. And what's he doing? Is the lane pushing?
He's actually leaving.
Is the lane pushing though?
Yeah, he's pushing, yeah.
Okay. So
So the creeps are gonna get
the
to
way
my
this
tower.
works is you see this happening, you need to be here before these creeps get here. Period. Like you have to be in the mid lane before these creeps get here. So, are you allowed to jungle this camp?
Nope.
No. Okay. Easy enough. Like that's a very simple rule somewhere before 10 minutes or so. It can apply later, but like it's a very simple rule that I did a coaching session, my live coaching session for my giveaway. The guy's top lane was pushing like this, like 20 minutes into the game, and I told him to head towards top, and he stopped to farm this camp. And I said, no. And like run all the way top. Run there. You have to get there before the creeps get there. Like you have to get there. It's like it applies at all stages of the game, but right now it's really simple because your lane is mid lane. Later on, not only do you have to do this concept correctly, but you also have to know what lane is yours. So that's like, this is the basic part. Let's get this down first. We'll worry about that part. Like we'll mention it probably, but we're not gonna, like, this is the first step. So never let this happen right here.
Yeah.
So whenever you're jungling a camp in the laning stage, it's all about whether or not they're pushing. If you feel like you're losing the lane and the other guy's just staticking it on his hill, meaning he's not pushing it, he's just keeping it on his hill, you can juggle all you want. on heroes like Invoker. But the minute the lane goes into your tower, you're giving up a lot of free experience that is just unnecessary. And sometimes you'll just lose your tower. So really, really bad fundamental, like, to get out of your head there. Okay, so we got Bounty Rune.
Top is missing.
Has a lot of mangoes.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of an overreaction because you have a shrine, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I bought them
definitely
for-
consider shrine in terms of your... I mean, this is, like, it's funny because earlier the guy I had bought 2 little regen, and now I see you buying 3 mangoes, so... it's interesting. Okay.
Missing so many Sunstrikes, man.
I don't care about the mechanics of Invoker specifically, like, you know, like, I'm not... There's nothing I can really tell you, like, to help you get better at Sunstrikes. I can tell you how to play Invoker in terms of, like, where to play on the map and stuff, but in terms of, like, mechanics of spells, that literally just comes down to practice. Like,
Yeah, but I think that's the most important thing. Because when you know how to play with the Invoker, where to be on the lane, then it's easier with the other heroes as well.
yeah, so it is. I think the most important thing of any hero anyone's playing is knowing generally how that hero wants to play. So, when should you play around this Void? Any ideas?
When he got Chrono up, and
Okay, good
when
talk.
we are ganking
Cool,
someone
yeah,
or something
so,
like that.
what are you doing here?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
There
should
you
go
go.
straight back to mid.
Yes. So, remember what we talked about with the creeps in terms of jungling?
Same
So,
thing.
you pushed out this lane. Good. Fine. I'm fine with your decision right here. You walked and you saw a haste rune and you took an opportunity bottom. Great. Everything's okay so far. What should our concern be as well?
That the mid is still pushing.
Okay. So, now we know that every second we spend down here is losing creeps. So, we either get something done or we go back to mid lane. So, immediately I see this. Like, we should see this. You don't even have to look, but you know it's happening. Meaning, based on the minimap, you know it's happening. And then we check this. And we go, okay. And we run all the way back mid. Okay? That's the thought process that should be happening here. Because if you ask yourself, when should I go to this guy's lane? And you get this haste rune, and you're like, oh, now I'm here. What do I do? Like, or, you know, what do I go? If this lane is still here, like, it's still right here, what does that mean for you? Like, there's...
that he's not pushing.
It's not pushing yet, so you're not missing anything necessarily by leaving, okay?
Yeah.
So maybe you can afford to spend more time down here potentially killing this guy with a haste rune. But now, every time this is pushed in, you're wasting time if you're not getting anything done, okay? So, like, your decisions for rotating have to be based on lane equilibrium of this lane. So, like, the reason why you're under-farmed, especially in the mid-game, because it gets even worse if you don't do it properly at 4 minutes or 8 minutes, is you're just letting these creeps die to your tower.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Exactly. That's why I'm getting my axe so late.
So, the most fundamental rule you need to have is, like, there are exceptions where you're just supposed to leave the lane and let your support have it or something. But 99% of the time in your bracket as a mid laner, you should just be here when these creeps are at your tower like this. Instead, the sniper's getting free gold and XP, damage onto your tower, and you're doing this.
Yeah,
See it?
almost dying.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about dying or not? You're just not farming. None of this is efficient. So you bought 2 mangoes, you might as well use them. Run back to lane. I don't know where you're going.
Whosoever
Like,
stands
run back to lane, drop your items, mangoes, and, like, use your regen and just be under tower. Like, if you just watch how many creeps die underneath your tower this game, and then go watch a good mid laner, like a really good mid laner, and tell me how many creeps die under their tower before 10 minutes, it's maybe like 3 max. Like, because they were doing something really important. But to know that you're just not allowed to miss creeps under tower is like a good fundamental start. Because you're just running around the map aimlessly. And guess what? You're level 6 and Sniper's level 8.5.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? And this is where it comes from. This is where it stems from. So definitely the most noteworthy fundamental thing you have to get down. You're just over-rotating, and it's all based on the mid lane's equilibrium.
Dire's middle tower is under Radiant's top tower. Dire's middle tower has fallen.
So yeah, you just have 17 CS at 11 minutes, and that's because look at the mid lane right now.
so
What are you
bad.
doing?
Yeah, I'm farming in the jungle.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard my coaching session before, maybe you have on this one. When the enemy team and your team are fighting and grouped up, what are your two choices?
You either help them
Okay.
or push a lane.
Okay, cool.
They are not.
So, what is not a choice?
Go into the jungle and farm.
Good talk. Cool, cool, cool. So your two choices are to show up here or to go to the closest lane.
Yeah.
As your two choices. Very important fundamental. The second you see people going, grouping up, trigger in your mind. Like alarms going off. I need to do something. I need to do something. Like, I don't care if you end up feeding because you're doing something. Please go do something. This is garbage. And I'm just being honest about how bad this is. Really bad. Because guess what happens? What happens because you didn't push mid?
The creeps are pushing my T2 actually, and
I don't care about
everybody
these
else is
creeps.
dying.
What happens if you push mid? While the fight's going on.
Might get the tower.
Well, what happens if you don't get the tower? Why are you not getting the tower?
Because I'm jungling.
No, like, if you push the lane, why are you not going to get the tower?
Okay.
What?
I don't know.
What's stopping you
Why
from
I-
getting a tower if you want to
Well,
take it?
Actually, nothing. I could go for the tower.
What could they
because
do
they're
to
playing
stop you
bottom.
from getting the tower?
TPing in? But
Okay, so if they
probably
TP into
bottom.
mid lane, what are they not doing?
Fighting on bottom.
Or pushing the
Or
tower
pushing another
bottom
lane.
a minute later after the fight. Like, if you fight them, that's fine. But if you don't fight them, by pushing the tower, you're forcing somebody to react to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So every time you don't do this properly, this happens. Do you see that?
And yeah,
Because a fight happened, and they had a whole minute after that fight to walk down this lane and push your tower, and they have no pressure on mid. There's nothing here. But instead, what happens here is if you immediately push this wave at 11:15,
they're still bottom.
if you immediately push this wave, let's fast forward to where we get to that
Middle
point.
tower is under attack. Radiant's
You see this fight,
is under attack.
and you immediately run mid right now, then by the time this fight breaks out and everything happens, this lane will be here. And then their choices are to lose mid and trade, or to defend mid and not get this tower.
Totally stupid to go to jungle.
So but I'm telling you the importance of why jungling is so bad, because by jungling, you are enabling the enemy team to group up. That is what you're allowing them to do. So every time you're losing towers, it's because whoever's on your team that's supposed to be pushing lanes is not pushing lanes. The reason why a group of 7.5Ks will beat a group of 6Ks 100% of the time is because they push lanes better. Like, it's actually that simple. Like, when I say it's that simple, there's a lot that goes into understanding what lanes to push and when to push them. But, like, that is why better players are better players in Dota, is lanes are pushed. So if you get better at this lane pushing sense of urgency thing and defending your tower based on lane equilibrium and stuff, you're just not going to be 2K anymore, because nobody in your bracket cares about that kind of shit. They just don't even know it exists. They don't even know what it means.
Just want to fight.
What? Yeah, and I'm saying, like, you can fight, like, but the thing is, what happens is if you push in the lanes, all I can say is if you're pushing lanes better than your opponent, the choice of whether or not to fight is so easy. It is so easy to decide whether or not to fight, because your choices to fight are literally, do I take this tower or do I show up to the fight? Instead of, do I do any of this shit that I'm debating on? It's literally, do I take this tower or do I fight? And in that case, in your bracket, oftentimes you don't even have to go to any fight. You can just take towers. But okay, so this tower pressure that's a minute and a half late is now occurring. And now it's like this awkward group around mid shit. So you're going to be forced to fight
I'm back to
awkwardly
the jungle.
if you're not pushing lanes. I'm not even going to really talk about your items for now.
Your mind snuffs out.
So is your hero a D pusher or a pusher?
I guess both,
It can be either.
Already dim and damp.
but more of a D pusher in my opinion.
Okay. So There's two things going on right now on this map right here. What lane is the enemy team threatening? If they're threatening any lane.
The top lane probably.
I don't see any heroes there.
It's just the mid
Okay,
hero,
just
but
mid.
they are in the river, so not close to the T2 or anywhere.
But I'm
You know what I
saying,
mean?
like, what
So
lane are they
they would
around?
like-
They're not here, because...
Mid.
Yeah, it's mid.
Mid, and
So,
they are jungle probably.
and what lane
because
are you
top lane-
threatening?
None again, but bottom.
No, like, your team. Right?
Bottom.
Okay. So what are your two choices in this type of scenario when the enemy team's missing? If they're threatening mid, and they're ganking for mid, because you don't see them bottom and you don't see them top, right?
Yeah.
So they have to be in this area, right? They have to be,
Yeah.
just by process of elimination. So if they're ganking, is it equally likely that they are right here as it is that they are right here?
Yeah.
If they're like smoke ganking or anything, you don't know where they are, but you know they're around mid somewhere because they're not here and they're not here. So is this any safer than this?
Probably not.
No. So in these type of spots where the opponent is missing, your immediate thought process has to be, what are their objectives they're threatening and what objectives can we threaten? Because the only way they'll ever reveal themselves is when they go to the objective they're threatening or when you force them to respond to something you're threatening. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
So
Your two choices are to counterplay whatever they're doing mid or to join your team bottom. And when is it good to go to our void?
when he got Chrono,
Okay.
he does.
So where do we go?
To the void.
But the point is, what is not an option in these type of scenarios?
To go to our shrine and back to jungling.
Okay.
Or
So you can
first
shrine
there.
if you need health and mana, which you do. But it is not an option to then AFK jungle, because if you just sit here, if you farm this, Void is bottom, Grimstroke farms here, and Luna farms here, what's going to happen in the next 20 seconds?
They're gonna gank void probably.
Somebody's going to fucking die. I don't know who. How do you know? Do you know who? I don't know who. How do you know? I don't know. You don't
No
know
one
anything
knows.
because you don't know where they are. I don't know where they are either. Like, I'm not, because I'm 7K, I don't know where they are. I know they're somewhere in here. Like, that's all I know. But that's all I can tell you. And that's how map awareness works, is like, they have to be here. So my two choices are to either play here defensively or play here aggressively. That's our two choices. Like, and anything else is wrong. If you decide one of those two things and it ends up being wrong, that's fine. Like, that's a natural part of learning in Dota. Like, those are mistakes you'll still make in my bracket. But doing one or the other is the only thing that can be correct here. So, once again, being way over content with jungling. So, the thing, why do players in your bracket jungle so much? Any idea? Want to help me in chat here?
Because you guys think that it's safer to go to jungle and you get some farm.
Because you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
Because when I gave you a reason to go to mid or to bottom, were they very specific reasons and like understanding of why? Right? That's what they were? They were understanding of why you should be there. So why do people in your bracket jungle? Because they don't understand any of that shit. So they just hit creeps in the jungle.
That's why we take coaching with
Yes,
PSJ.
no, so the point is, though, you have to understand that jungling, the lesson I preach about jungling, is correct when you think about every single lane you could possibly go to, and none of it's correct. So jungling is like the bottom of the list of things. I should consider going top, consider going mid, and consider going bottom. And if none of that works, then I jungle.
Yeah.
That is the lesson. So, by jungling, you and every player in your bracket is declaring there is literally nothing to do this game on the map. So, an example of when jungling would be correct was in the laning stage at 4.5 minutes. If you don't really want to be in lane because you're against Sniper Spearbreaker, and Sniper's just keeping the lane on his hill. So you have no responsibility to mid because it's not pushing. And you don't feel safe going to mid. And you're a level 4 invoker, so you're not going to go gank or some shit. So your only option is to jungle at that point. But the minute mid lane pushes, you need to be there again. So it's kind of like, in the early game, the responsibility is pretty basic. Defend your tower. What you'll learn is there's times where you're not supposed to defend your tower because you die, but you're only going to learn those times if you defend your tower every time, right? Like, that's really the only way you're going to learn it. And then, at this point in the game, it's a little more complicated, but it's the same decision, is it not? In this case, it's the same decision, but it's whether or not I should go mid or top. Or sorry, mid or bottom. In the early game, it's just whether or not I go mid. In this game, it's whether or not I go mid or bottom. So the first step, like I said, and you're seeming to get it, is deciding these things correctly at 4 minutes into the game. The second step is knowing the dead lane theory in regards to aggressive plays, counter plays. Aggressive plays, counter plays. So whenever you're deciding what lane you go to, am I counterplaying or am I making an aggressive play? What heroes on my team make an aggressive play? Do I want to play with them? What heroes on my team make a counterplay? Do I want to play with them? If I try to defend a tower, what does the enemy team do to me if I try to defend the tower? Like, those are a lot of questions to ask yourself, but if you get in the habit of asking these things, it gets very straightforward.
Well, it makes common sense, you know?
It does, right?
Sure.
Do you have any questions? I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, that's a really good advice.
Okay, cool.
Don't go jungle.
Yeah, don't fucking jungle. Jungling is something you do between times that you push lanes. So the analogy I've used before
Radiant's bottom
is
under attack.
you have to like feed and take the dog out. Okay? Once you've done that, you can play with the dog. You know what I'm saying? So the jungling is playing with the dog, while the feeding and taking the dog out is the lanes.
Dude, how do you make up such metaphors?
Beautiful analogy, buddy.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. You should buy a TP on you when you leave base like that. Okay, so you see top and bottom stuff's happening. A lot of heroes are showing, so we immediately force mid. We still see Spirit Breaker, but we gotta chill. We do have Void here, but no Chrono. He has it now. Little awkward here. I don't expect these plays to be made correctly by either team because you're in 2K. Your team's, like, I would say, in the right place on the map. You guys are just walking at them rather than making a concerted, you know, smoke play kind of thing. And it just leads to you guys feeding because it's done incorrectly. But I would say, like, you're in the right place on the map right then and there. Your Luna's pushing bottom, so all that was fine.
Dire's middle tower
So let's... Luna's casually feeding against Spirit Breaker.
The thing with the gameplay with the Invoker is that I'm still learning the Invoker, you know? So I gotta focus a lot of times on the spells.
Yes,
That's why
so whenever I potato these general
the decision
concepts...
making is totally wrong.
Yes. But the thing is, I would prioritize the decision making over spells. So like if you're trying to learn Invoker, like you need to work on like one decision making thing per game. So like I would say the next game you play Invoker, you literally never let your tower take damage. Like for free. Like meaning there's never creeps dying to your tower. And then once you can do that properly and use your spells decently, meaning like it's not affecting you from using your spells in order to walk towards mid. Like right now, same thing. You see here, you see here, you see your team here. This lane. Right here. At least send your Forge Spirit. Send something. Guess what happens when you don't push lanes you're supposed to push?
They're getting pushed themselves.
Either they get pushed towards you or somebody else on your team does it.
Oh.
And you're effectively a non-factor in this game while your team's getting like ran over bottom.
Totally.
So I want to remind you that every time there's a fight or something going on, your two choices here, I guess 3 choices, are to push out mid, push out top, or to join the fight.
Won't help.
Yes, that's your 3 choices ever. So the only time that jungling is correct is when your team is not fighting, like your team has decided not to fight, and mid and top are already getting pushed, and there's no reason for you to go there. Meaning, like, if you go there sometimes, maybe you give your hero kill threat. Like, maybe your Void's already pushing top, but by you being behind him, anybody that TP's in will die.
No.
That's an example of, even though you don't want to push the lane, you still serve a purpose of going there. But in your mind, think push one of the two lanes that they're not in, or fight them every single time.
Oh,
That's a very simple rule that pretty much applies in all scenarios. And I would rather you follow behind somebody that's pushing the lane than jungle, even though sometimes jungling is correct. What you can do is you always go to a lane, and then you'll realize while you're at the lane that you're like wasting your time, and then you can learn when to jungle based on that. You got me?
Gotcha.
Cool. And if you go to the lane and be like, wow, I only wanted to be here if Void had Chrono, and then you realize he doesn't have Chrono, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go hit a jungle camp in the meantime. You know what I mean?
Dire's bottom tower
So like once you get to the lane, maybe think to yourself, why am I here? If you haven't figured it out already. So I think once you get to this point in the game, your impact on the game is literally nothing. You have like no net worth.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to look at real quick is I'm going to show you my game from yesterday from Battle Cup about like this is like a game where I haven't played in forever. I literally have not played Dota in 2 weeks or whatever. And this is
Yes.
just a group of 7K players playing against a group of 6K players. So I think this is a perfect game to show you to highlight what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm just going to show you from my perspective. I may even do it a bit slow in this game because
Radiant team
I haven't played in a while. Things may be slow, but they're still like done, is how I always look at my play. Like whenever I don't play for a while, all my correct decisions are just a bit slower rather than incorrect. I just do them not as fast. Wow, this is laggy. I guess it's laggy because I'm screen sharing and streaming.
16 times.
Yeah, I mean, usually I can not be laggy like that. But okay, so
Radiant's middle
they fight top. Our two choices are to fight them or push a lane. So I show up to the lane and swap lanes. Fast forward.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
We're chilling for a bit here. We're kind of on the recovery mode. So you fight bottom, what do I do? Instantly start pushing the lane, get a bounty. Back off because the fight's like, I'm not contributing to the fight, and I gave a little bit of pressure. I forced the Dazzle to come top. I see them pushing bottom and there's a fight going on. What do? I run up and push top as much as I can. Force reactions.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's bottom
My team's now taking bottom for free. They group up top. What do?
Go mid.
Immediately go push something else. Look at this. While they're fighting, I don't really want to fight right now. Take a free tower. Right? And this is just me being faster than the opponent. It's not like if I were playing against a good players, I wouldn't be doing this faster than the opponent. So I
And
see
now
the,
bottom is the dead lane.
yes, like wherever my
So
I
you
like
don't go there.
like I can go there. I can go here. It's just I'm not trying to get anything done. The only reason I go to the dead lane is why?
Don't let the tower die.
To relieve
Probably.
pressure. To stop the tower from dying. So I pushed out the lane real quick. I saw that the SF's no longer there, and I keep sending illusions to bottom lane. My team's grouping up top. I immediately go push mid. I should have even pushed bottom better than I did, but I didn't push it very well. This is
You
just
got,
rusty.
you got a pretty decent hero there for split
But
pushing.
you see what I'm saying, though, right? You could be doing this with Invoker Forge Spirits and, like, meteoring the other way. Like, yeah, Terrorblade's a prime example, but notice how every single time an engagement happened in the first 15 minutes, I immediately bolted somewhere else to a different lane. And that's, like, the main emphasis of what I'm trying to get you to get better at, especially in your bracket. Because fights just become so easy when you have lanes pushed in and the enemy team's responding to whatever you're doing. Because meanwhile, look what Gunner's doing. He's not at this fight. He literally said, guys, I can't be at this fight. That's what he's doing. Right, exactly what you said, pushing top. He's looking at the fight, and then he's pushing top. And while his fight's going on, free tower.
Radiant's top tower
Same thing.
are fortified.
Look at what he did. He leaves, and he just pushes the wave. Free tower.
Radiant's top tower
Would you say a T1 is more worth than like 3 deaths on the other lane?
Dire's structures
So
It all matters to
when you have
what
to
your
make the choice.
contribution is.
when you have to make the choice, either push the top lane or help bottom and don't let 3 people die.
Okay.
What's worth more? You know what I
Well,
mean?
the real question
So, like,
is,
is the tower more?
why do you not know the answer to that question?
I'm asking you.
No, I'm asking you, though. Why do you not know the answer?
Because I'm not really sure if 3 heroes are equally worth a tower.
But how do you
instance.
learn in Dota? What's the only way to learn?
Try it out.
Yeah. So why do you not know the answer to that question? Because you literally never
haven't,
push
thought
towers when
about
the
it.
opponent's grouping up.
Yeah.
Like, how are you supposed to know the decision if you've never put yourself in the situation to make the decision? Like,
Yeah.
the point is, like, there's no rhyme or reason. Like, sometimes 3 deaths are better to let happen because there's literally nothing your hero does for the fight. But sometimes your hero could have turned the entire engagement. Like, you could have literally turned that 3 deaths into a team wipe the other way. But, like, the only way players like myself have gotten better at those kind of decisions is we put ourselves in that situation over and over again, and then we're forced to make the decision, and then we make mistakes, and then we learn from them, right? Like, that's how, like, I don't always make the right choice when it comes to whether or not I'm supposed to show up to the fight, and I'm 7.7k. So, like, if you're 2.8k, the only way you can start getting better at that specific decision is by always pushing a lane, always pushing a tower, when the opponent's grouping up, because then you're left with, do I show up to this fight or do I push a lane? Like, so what happens is you're left with, is it more effective for me to get this tower, or is it more effective for me to show up at this fight? So the way I look at it, this is a perfect example, is there's a fight going on top in about 30 seconds. My Void's pretty strong, and I'm level... It's actually a little bit later than now. It's right... Where is it? It's when my Void goes back top. Right... I'm a little late on this decision, by the way, but it's all just rustiness. Like, these are the kind of decisions where I'm talking about where I make the right decision, but it's slow. Like, I just don't make it fast enough. Where is the decision here? It's right... It's right...
There.
It's right here.
When you saw that 3 people are top.
Yes, so it's right here, right? So this is something I could have guessed was happening, because Slark got no help when we dove him, and I see nobody mid. So if I had better map awareness, I would have known something could potentially be happening top. A lot of choosing correctly, quickly, has to do with foresight, like knowing what's going to happen, or could potentially happen. So this is a spot where my map awareness kind of is just a little off, because I haven't played in a while. So what happens is this fight happens. So what's my choices when this fight happens?
Push bottom, or
Okay.
try to pressure this slug there,
Okay.
or TP top and help
Okay.
out. to
So
not lose
then
the tower.
immediately I have to make a decision within 2 or 3 seconds of what's more impactful, me pressuring bottom tower when I'm level 5 and Slark's level 6 with, you know, supports with no mana, or do I show up to this fight with my Void that has Chrono
A good choice, I would say.
to go top,
TP top.
right? But that's like, how can I teach you any better than that, right? Like, I'm giving you an example, but all you can do is put yourself in this situation every time and then look at the factors that go into, you know, do I show up to this fight or not, right? And so it's like, for me, that's what I thought about. I have 2 supports with virtually no mana. The Slark's level 6 while I'm level 5. We have basically no lockdown for him that's, like, good enough, so I can't pressure this tower. So then, when I think about it that way, the more advanced solution is, if I can't pressure this tower, do I think I'm impactful at the fight? Because sometimes your teammates will just take garbage fights. So what if my Void is level 5 and he's just dying underneath his own tower? Is it a good TP for me here? No, right? But I see an opportunity where my choice is to stay here. I know I'm not going to accomplish anything other than farming. Or to show up to this fight where I have a Void with Chrono, which makes the fight correct. But if I see, like, I'm just going to sit here farming, and neither of my teammates have anything to do here, then I'm not going to do... Like, I'm just going to chill. I'm not going to do anything. And this will sometimes happen when you're either behind or you just had a slow start. Like, I was in an aggro tri-lane, so I'm level 5. Like, I had a relatively slow start on my hero. So, like, even though we're ahead, my hero's not particularly strong. So when my hero's not strong, how do I decide whether or not to show up to the fight?
You see your team, if they are strong enough.
Yes,
to take the
exactly,
fight.
right? If my team is strong. So a lot of my decisions when I'm a carry, with especially a long cooldown carry, like a Jug Ultimate or a Terrorblade type hero, or a Void carry, is if I don't feel strong, I need to shift my decision making behind who on my team is strong. Can I help them? Like, can I do anything to make them stronger? So, like, I see this opportunity, I'm like, oh, like, that's a good TP, and I don't mind leaving bottom, because I'm against a Slark who's level 6 and I'm level 5. So, like, another thing that contributes to my decision is whether or not I want to leave my lane. So, if I want to leave my lane, then the first opportunity I get to leave it, I should leave my lane. So I do. Obviously, I was a bit slow with my decision, but the rotation to go top is correct. I just should have been faster. That's all there really is about it. So, like, that's an example of what I mean by I'll make the right choice, it's just slow.
So you're swapping the lane with the Void, actually?
Yes, because he can
you
lane
can
against
farm
Slark because he's level 7. Okay, what did we say about the dead lane theory past, like, 7-8 minutes? What is top?
The dead lane?
Okay, so where do we put dead lane here? Like, what heroes do we put dead lane?
Those who need levels.
Or, like, heroes that aren't strong enough to do anything else? So this is a point in the game where if I'm a free farm carry, am I top? If I free farmed, I'm level 8, am I top?
You are from carry and you're farming top, then you're probably farming top.
But I'm saying, if I started the game top, I absolutely free farmed, and I'm strong, am I top?
No, you're going to
No.
the lane where it doesn't
I want to
work
do
out.
shit. I do go to the lane that I want shit done. But by going top, what am I saying about my hero?
About what hero you're talking now? The
My
core?
hero. If I go top,
The TB.
any hero in the game, if I go top, what am I saying about my hero?
You can't do anything else.
Okay, I don't want to do anything because the other two lanes are where we make aggressive plays. I don't want to do anything if I go top. This is a rule, like, there are exceptions. Like, there are some times where top is the play, but 80% of the games plus, meaning like 80% or more of the time, this is how it works, okay? I want to be very clear because people like CCNC have flamed me for oversimplifying it. But I have to simplify it when people are learning about it, right? So the rule is, if I want to do something, I go bottom or mid. If I don't want to do something and I feel safe enough to do it, I go top. If I don't want to do something and I don't feel safe enough to go top, where do I go?
Jungle.
There you go. Wow. Right? Same thing with mid laners at this point in the game. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So, like, if I don't want to do anything, my choices are to defend towers, right? That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to counterplay whatever the opponent is. So my choice is, if I'm a mid laner or a safe laner, can I defend any towers? So if I'm a mid laner, I can choose to sometimes defend top or mid. As a safe laner, I can sometimes choose to defend top or mid at this stage in the game, right? After the laning stage is kind of over, people can move lanes. So then if I'm considering going jungle because I don't want to do anything, right? The first step is ask myself, do I want to do something? First step. Second step is, the answer is yes. Go to the heroes that allow you to do so. And generally that's going to be on the opponent's safe lane. Do I not want to do something? If the answer is no, then I'm defending towers. If I can't defend towers, then I jungle. Where do I jungle?
Bottom of the list.
Yes, where do I jungle though? Like, if I'm deciding, like, if I'm Terrorblade here, and I'm deciding, do I jungle here or do I jungle here? How do I know?
Well, if you're top now.
No, ignore where I am right now. Ignore where I am right now. Ignore this scenario.
Okay.
If I'm
The
jungling,
best spot is the right on the right side
why?
of the T2.
Why?
Because you got a shrine, you're fast at your T2. You're fast in the base. You got surroundings.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a better answer. So I know what you're saying. The rule would be that you farm here. But here's the deal, man. What did I say is the final step to decide whether or not I'm jungling? What am I saying I don't want to do?
You don't want to get ganked by the other team or
By
to
defending
let
a tower.
the tower die.
By defending a tower, right?
Yeah.
So where should I jungle? Near the tower I would want to defend if I'm not scared.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
sure.
So if my Grimstroke's defending mid, and I don't know where they are, and I don't feel safe enough to farm this, but mid's already defended, where do I jungle?
On the top shrine.
Top, around here, right? Because the minute they show somewhere, I need to go push this.
Ah,
But if they show here, I'm okay to like be here.
makes totally sense
Okay.
now.
So the way it works is, do I want to do something? Yes. Go do it. What do I need to do it? That's like the questions I ask myself. Where do I want to do it? And it's almost always mid or safe lane, or their safe lane, mid or their safe lane. And if you ask yourself like what I need to do it, it's based on who's in your game, right? Like in your game, you had an obvious rotation to your void. So if you want to go do something, it should be wherever he is. And then the other side of the coin is like if you're the void player, you need to realize you're dictating wherever your team does something. So if you go to a part of the map that you don't want to do anything as void with Chrono, you're just fucking up because your team's gonna go to you because you're a void with Chrono. But okay, so long story short here. So if we don't want to do anything, our first option is to defend or push out lanes that are safe to do so. And if we don't feel safe to do that, then we ask ourselves what lane would we go to if we were safe? And then we jungle somewhere in that vicinity, as close as possible to that lane where we feel safe. So like in certain games, I may feel safe right here if I'm a jug against no spin TP cancels. In certain games, I may feel safe right here. In certain games, I may need to be all the way over here. But that's simply based on what my hero is and what their heroes are, right? But the idea is my plan was to go push out this lane the second I can. That's the idea behind it. So just know that. Okay, so we're going to pull up your other replay. Do you have another one? You said you have two Invoker replays, right? Dude, it's really hot in here. Freaking heater. 1 second.
Well, I think I'm gonna not show you another Invoker game.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, you can put the next replay ID.
Wrong one.
Oh, looks like I didn't cancel my order of food. Interesting.
Jesus. Why can't I copy?
I don't know. You might just need to type it.
There you go.
There you go. First try.
But it's not another Invoker game.
Yeah. So we're just gonna, what I did with my last session, I'm gonna do the same thing with you. If I see any common mistakes, I'm just gonna point it out that it's happening again, and we're not gonna obviously go into any depth about that it's happening. Just, here it is again.
Yep, sounds good.
Download is already pending. Oh, there we go.
Would you say Sniper is a good counter to Tinker?
Sniper is a good counter to Tinker.
What's a good counter to Tinker?
Any hero that builds natural mobility and gets on top of them, I'd say is like a good counter. So obviously Spectre in general can be good, but if you're talking in the mid lane,
Mid, yeah.
Yeah, I mean generally speaking, any hero that punishes him for walking up and lasering, or can still CS through laser, I think Invoker is actually fine against Tinker. I think actually Invoker's really good against Tinker. I think any hero that doesn't rely purely on right clicking for CS is pretty good. Puck could be pretty good. OD could be pretty good. OD is in general just broken right now, but I guess Tinker's kind of favored against him sometimes, depending on the patch. But Zeus doesn't rely on right clicking, and
So
it also counters Tinker.
Magic damage.
Yeah, magic damage and or catch. But the main thing is in terms of the lane counter, it's his way of winning the lane is harassing with laser and rockets, and then also by making you miss your CS by lasering you. So the way to counter him is by somebody that can punish him for laser, or by somebody that can CS through laser. So Quap, for instance, doesn't really feel that great against Tinker because her Scream is so low range that if you want to trade with him when he's lasering, she doesn't really benefit from that. So, but on the other hand, the minute he walks up for a laser, if you're Invoker, you can cold snap him and catch him out, kind of thing. So that's an example of what I mean by that. So the way I always think about how to beat a hero, and you sometimes in our my bracket, what hero are you here?
It's
You're Sniper. Okay. So the way I think about counters and stuff is I just think what does that hero do to win their lane? So same thing here, obviously.
Yeah. But I wanted a fast Bracer against the Tinker.
I just don't
since
think
it's
you
got
ever
magic
build
resist.
Bracer on Sniper, so I don't know what else to say about that. Like,
Okay.
you should, any Agi hero builds Wraith Bands in this patch, and that's it. But this patch is probably going to change. So I just keep in mind, like, if you ever see another high-level Sniper go Bracer, you can prove me wrong, but I kind of just mimic builds at your bracket. Like, if I'm thinking what's best for you, I would just mimic builds. Like, I don't see any reason to deviate if you see mid laners in my bracket going 3 Wraith Bands treads to do anything differently than that. But okay, so looks like you're trying to use creep aggro, but you're not using it. Creep aggro is a big deal for you in these ranged hero matchups. That's really all I can say about it. Very wasteful use of shrapnels.
It's so annoying, the laser.
So what does creep aggro do for you in this matchup?
It pulls the creeps closer to my tower, and when they are close to me...
We don't care
can
about them
easily
being
hit
close to you. It allows you to attack them from a farther distance away from the Tinker, which means what?
That he has to step up.
Yeah, and then
And
maybe he won't
I'm
be able to
getting
laser
elastic,
you in time.
probably.
Yeah, meaning like you're making him have to walk farther forward to laser you, and then maybe he won't be able to laser you at all. So you're positioning the creep such that you can attack them from farther away, such that you can dodge him lasering you. Like, that's what creep aggro does here. Every lane, creep aggro has some purpose. It's just like you have to understand what it's for. Like, why? What does he do to win the lane? Laser me. Okay, how do I prevent him from lasering me? Drag the creeps farther away from him. And at this point, you've kind of already lost the lane, so we're just chilling. Meaning, like, you can't really win this lane at this point. You can kind of just shrapnel and farm it. So, like, in my opinion... Okay, he's just letting you... Holy shit. Okay. I guess you haven't lost a lane in your bracket, because they don't punish. Okay, so let's see what happens here.
First blood. Have I got juice on the chin?
I was trying to max out shrapnels there.
Okay, so... I think your biggest issue is the entire time I've been watching you play mid for the last 2 games, I don't think the wave's been on your hill, like, more than 1 wave. Like, every time it's on your hill, you just shrapnel. Every time it's on your hill, you just hit it. You know, like, the benefit of having it on your hill, right? Like, there's, like, so many of them. You know, like, all the benefits?
The uphill misses.
The uphill misses, you're safer, ganks, like, everything about it. Like, the uphill misses from you attacking him. He can't be aggressive on you because he can't chase after you. Like, the only benefit or negative to having it on your hill is if you're, like, getting tower dove and it's, like, pushing into your tower. So, generally, the ideal purpose of equilibrium in the lane is to have it right here and not let it push into your tower. But, like, every time I've seen it on your hill, you just shrapnel it. So, this is something I used to do really badly. So, like, overall in the mid lane, the lane equilibrium, like, the way you win with it and stuff is just different than side lanes. So, for a while, I was just not doing lane equilibrium correctly. That's really all there's to it. So, the best explanation I can have for you in the mid lane is, like, realize you almost always want it on your hill. That's, like, the rule. There's, like, some exceptions, but you almost always want it on your hill. And you need to watch other mid laners, like, better players, and see what they do to keep it on their hill. Tanking creeps, not using nukes to push it out, and then there are times where you're supposed to push it out. Maybe for runes. Maybe you saw Pudge leave bottom lane, and you don't want to be here by the time he gets here, so you push it out. But the point is, the rule is to keep it on your hill. So if we talk about the game in terms of rules and exceptions, when we're watching players, meaning say you're watching a professional player and you're trying to learn from them, how do we learn from them? If we think about the game in terms of rules and exceptions. When do we learn?
When they're making mistakes, probably.
When they make exceptions. When they don't do what the rule is. Because if, for instance, I told you, like, that the rule is never let creeps go under your tower in the mid lane without you being there. Okay? And you watch a mid laner at the highest bracket do something that isn't that, meaning they let creeps die to their own tower. What does that mean?
It's an exception.
But what does that mean about them making that decision?
That in their opinion, it's better to let the creeps push into the tower.
And they had a very specific reason for that.
Yep.
So you literally watch them and say, why? That's how you learn exceptions. You literally watch them and go like, oh, he preferred to gank here rather than be at his own tower. And that was because his offlaner just hit 6. Or that was because the bounty runes were coming out and he thought he could help. Like, if you think about the game in terms of rules and exceptions and you always do the rule and you watch players and you think about when they do exceptions, you learn so much about how they play. Like, you just watch, like, oh, he's not doing what I thought he should do, or like the standard. Why? And then, like, you learn reasons why you're not supposed to do that. So, like, my rule for you, the way I want you to learn these concepts is rule. Always have to be at your tower. No creeps under it. Rule. Always have the creep wave on your hill if possible. Like, you know, these are rules. And then once you can apply those rules regularly, like that, your bracket, that's all it takes is fundamentals. Like, that's all it takes is just basic things, getting better at them. So once you do that, then you can start to ask, you know, when I watch BSJ, when I watch CCNC stream, when I watch a pro player in a pro match, why are they not doing that exact thing all the time? So it's like somebody's asking me, BSJ, when do I not use creep aggro? Well, the rule is to use creep aggro. But there's times where it's bad. So watch when players don't use creep aggro, and you're like, why aren't they using creep aggro? And then figure it out. Like, try to figure it out. You know, that's the best you can do. That's what I had to do. There's no better answer. There's no simple, over-encompassing answer to any of these questions. So, okay. So definitely a major thing that you just never have the lane on your hill. Very big deal. You just kind of find yourself in an awkward spot. You can't be aggressive. You, like, just let him farm under tower the whole time. Like, right there, perfect example. When you push it underneath their tower, what can you do here? What are your two choices when the lane's underneath their tower?
Push with the lane.
Okay.
Or go farm the jungle.
Or go back and block your wave so that it ends up on your
Or
tower.
block the wave.
Is that not your two choices? Okay, I guess 3 choices for farming a camp. So what are you saying by farming the camp?
Now, well, I can't really farm the camp with these items in level 4.
Yeah, so
fast.
if you were a hero that could farm the camp, what are you saying by farming the camp? In general, if you're a good mid laner, would I prefer to farm the camp or would I prefer to have the lane right here?
Depends on what the other hero is doing.
Okay.
Because
so
if
that's
the
fine.
lane keeps pushing,
So what you're saying by jungling is you would prefer the lane. You'd prefer to be in the jungle than have the lane right here. There are certain matchups where even if the lane's right here, it doesn't matter for you. You're still losing. Okay? So, like, there are some times where you'd rather jungle anyways. But the point is, by jungling, you're saying, I prefer the jungle than having the lane right here in a range versus range matchup. So, once again, I guess your 3 choices are to hit them underneath their tower, to block your own wave, or to jungle. What did you do here?
stand in front of the tower and wait it.
Yeah. So this is how you get better at Dota. Is this kind of shit never happens? Like you just eliminate it. Like it's still gonna happen, but I'm saying you make it happen less and less.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Again, same thing.
Yep, same thing.
Invisibility.
Yes. Lovely.
I'm just shocked you haven't been getting camped by a Pudge, to be honest. Like I haven't seen Pudge for like 90% of this game. I'm just like wondering where the fuck he is. Wow, he got a kill there. Oh, there he is. Hi, Pudge.
Oh, it's Pudge.
By the way, you should have just instantly TP'd there. It's like a pretty small thing, but the minute right here, TP.
Yeah, TP.
And where do you TP to?
Jesus.
If you're a perfect player.
To the shrine.
Yeah.
On the left.
Yeah. Or bottom, doesn't matter. Just either of the shrines. But that's like a really small point that I don't really care that much about that. You can always think about TPing out as like a way to get out and something you should consider, but so against Pudge, I'd say you need a ward for sure. And I would buy one for myself if I don't get one. from my supports. If you need something that enables you to farm as a farming core, then nothing's more important than enabling yourself to farm by spending money. Like, it's worth spending money for yourself.
It's 75, so
This Ring of Regen is just trash. You're just, like, overreacting in a 2K way to what's happening to you.
yeah.
So you either need to be in the lane less, because every time you show up to the lane, you're getting lasered, or you need to play the lane safer. A lot of this is just like you're trying to solve a problem with 2 HP per second when this guy has nukes that hit for 240 and 200, right? Like, it's just not going to outweigh it, and it's 300 gold. So why not make yourself kill jungle creeps faster? You know what I mean? Instead of be able to sustain a lane where you can't sustain. So, like, it's okay if you want to lane and you're going to ferry yourself a bunch of salves, but don't ruin your item build by 300 gold to have some random item in your inventory. Like, this is just a complete overreaction, right? So try to avoid this happening. If you're having regen issues, just ferry salves or tangos. Never adjust by this. The only way ferrying regen items is correct, or sorry, like buying items like this, is if you buy this item, you now win the lane. So, like, an example, sometimes you see Hood PL in the previous patch. Or, like, yeah, Hood PL was probably the best example I have in the past. And it's like, if I'm PL against Veno, I lose the lane by virtue of him harassing me out of the lane. But if I buy a Hood, he no longer harasses me out of the lane. So now I win, because I can bully him out of lane by buying a Hood. So even though I kind of compromised my item build, meaning I changed my item build, by buying the Hood, it made it so I dominate the lane rather than him dominating the lane. You buying a Hood just gives you some sustain. It doesn't actually change the dynamic of this lane. You see what I'm saying? And the difference there?
Yeah.
So whenever you're considering these, like, investing into full regen focused items, that needs to be why. Like, it needs to have a change in how the dynamic of the game operates. Okay,
Well,
so
I thought that no one's buying a pipe or anything, so I wanted to be a little bit the magic damage they got.
yeah, so the idea is that sometimes you have to make up for your teammates, whether it's mistakes or lacking of their heroes, and that comes down to, does your hero do that? No sniper never builds a pipe. That's how that works. Nice. Okay, so we got a kill. So a lot of just fundamentals in terms of the landing stage. We've harped on all of them so far.
Is under radiant structure.
Just stick to the rules for now, and eventually we'll be able to learn the exceptions. This is a rough one.
Right into the hook.
Yeah, so this is just recognizing who on their team threatens you. The only hero on their team that actually does anything is Pudge. Who else threatens you if you don't have a TP scroll?
The Tinker.
I feel like you just walk
Viper,
away.
actually.
Yeah, Viper. So if Pudge was showing bottom and you have a TP scroll on you, are you allowed to hit this tower?
Yes.
Okay. If Pudge is showing bottom but Viper's missing, are you allowed to hit the tower like this?
If Viper is already 6, then no.
No, that's what I mean, though,
Yeah.
right? Is the point is, whenever you're thinking about holding TP scrolls, you need to understand how much they do for you. Like, that's a big deal about TP scrolls. So first off, the rule is you should always try to have one. Like, that obviously seems like very simple. But in general, you know, just think about what TP scrolls offer you is just a big, important thing in Dota, right? Like, if Pudge is ganking me and he misses his hook, and I'm, like, thinking clearly, I just immediately TP. But, like, in the mid game here, if I'm pushing a tower, I talked to the other guy earlier today, is when you're pushing a tower, you're naturally under threat because you're on the enemy team's side of the map. So the rule is when I'm pushing this tower that I'm under threat. So I need to think who threatens me and why. The exception is none of those heroes are available or nobody on their team threatens me. So I'm safe, right? Like, that's how I look at it. The rule is that I'm in danger. The exception is I've thought about it. I'm safe. So the minute I'm hitting this tower, I just think to myself, how do I die as I'm walking up to this tower? Usually, is it good for you to process that while you're hitting the tower?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I can think about who can actually kill me.
But while you're thinking about that, what happens?
They're hooking me.
They're killing you. So when do you have to think about it?
before I start pushing. Tower.
Yes, before you start pushing the tower. So you just got this kill on Tinker. What are you doing? In your next 30 seconds, what are you doing?
Checking the minimap. Where
I'm saying, like,
everybody
what
is.
is your 30 seconds going to look like? You just killed this guy. What does it do for you? What was Tinker preventing you from doing while he was alive?
Pushing the mid tower.
Yeah. So what are you doing while he's dead?
Pushing the mid tower.
Exactly, right? So whenever I get kills, I always think to myself, what was that guy preventing me from doing? Sometimes it's pushing the tower. Sometimes it's farming my lane safely. Sometimes it's he was threatening my tower, so I had to defend. So I had to be there, but now I don't have to be there anymore. Sometimes, you know, whatever. Whatever that guy was stopping me from doing. And what should I do when I kill that guy?
Do that.
Whatever he was stopping me from doing.
doing.
Like, that's pretty simple, right? Like, if the guy made it too dangerous for me to go mid because he's alive and he dies, I should farm mid while he's dead. That seems pretty simple. It's like, if he prevented me from pushing a tower, I should kill the
Push
tower.
the tower.
Yeah, because he stopped me from doing that. Like, that's a really easy way to give yourself purpose for getting a kill. Meaning, like, what did that, like, why am I going for this kill? So if you got a kill and you're just like, now what? It probably wasn't a very good kill. Like, it probably didn't do anything. Like, you maybe should reconsider not going for that kill at all. I mean, if a guy just walks out of position and dies, then that's different. But, like, if you guys make an organized, concerted effort to do something, right, then there should be some reason to what you're doing. So you got this kill, you're pushing mid. So during this time that you know you're going to push mid, you have this guy died like 6 seconds ago or something. You have like 10, 15 seconds before your creep wave right here, that's going to push the tower for you, gets here. That allows you to process who kills me and how. So right now you're thinking Viper is showing bottom, Pudge is showing bottom. Nobody's here to kill me just yet. I see all the 4 heroes on the map. Okay, so let's follow what your train of thought should be. I see Pudge walking towards mid. It's 9:20. I see him. Okay, so I do have to be careful of Pudge. He could be on the bottom half. He could be either here or have walked here. We don't know. So if I stand right here,
saw him on the minimap.
you know what I'm saying? But why did you not have the hill? Why do you not have the equilibrium on your hill all the time? When I told you that you need to have the lane equilibrium on your hill, why is it not on your hill?
Because it's pushing the tower.
But why are you not making it on your hill? Why not just do it?
Because I was trying to push the tower, but I
No, what I'm
actually-
saying is at 6 minutes in the game and prior, when I said the ideal scenario is to have the lane on your hill, why is it never on your hill? Because you don't think about it. You don't
pushing.
care. You don't.
Yeah,
It isn't
yeah.
something in your mind. Like, you're like, you don't even think about it when you're in the middle of the lane. Like, you're just like playing your lane, and having the lane on your hill is not important to you. Like, that's not something that occurred to you to be important. Why did we not see
until
Pudge
now.
on the minimap there?
Now?
Earlier, when he walked through the minimap, why did we not see him?
Because we weren't thinking about it.
We weren't
The
thinking,
task
I'm
was-
pushing this tower, I'm in danger, how do I die?
wasn't.
Right? So the emphasis of that question, albeit maybe a poorly executed question series here, is the way you have the right things that don't, so it doesn't look like you just potato like this, like meaning you just randomly get hooked, is by thinking about the right things. And by getting the right lane equilibrium, it's because you're thinking about the lane equilibrium. So, like, when it comes to pushing a tower, so the process that needs to go in your mind to learn from this is not, I get a kill, I push a tower. It's, I get a kill. What did that guy stop me from doing?
Mhm.
Okay. Do that.
Yeah.
Now that I'm doing that, what stops me from doing this? Okay, where are they? And then you'll immediately look at the map and you'll never miss that Pudge ever again. Like, you'll just never miss it because you knew to think about who threatens me. And the thing about Dota is, if you really want to get better and you really want to, like, apply map awareness, you actually just have to be thinking almost every second of the game. Like, you just have to be. And that's the nature of Dota. And if, for some of us, like, I personally, after, like, 6 games of full-on concentration, I get pretty exhausted, like, mentally. I'm just like, holy shit, I'm, like, my map awareness, I feel like, slowly drops off over the course of a stream. Like, in the last 2 or 3 games of the night, I feel like I'm definitely exhausted mentally. So it's just one of those things, though, where it's the goal of these sessions for everybody watching and for teaching you is to be thinking about the right thing. So I try to give signals and triggers, meaning, like, when you get a kill, this is what you should think about. So every time a kill happens, you want to train your mind to execute that process real quick. So you'll be
Yeah.
like, so the other guy earlier, he'd get kills, and he would just have half mana, no health, or sorry, half health, no mana,
Mm-hmm.
and just not flying himself any items. And I'm like, what happens when you kill a guy? Well, he dies, he comes back to lane full health, full mana, and you just got gold for killing him. And he's got full health, full mana, so what do you need? You need full health, full mana, and you have gold. So what do? You buy items that give you full health, full mana, right? So it's like that seems pretty straightforward, but he literally didn't do it a single time, and he's like 3.5k. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it's all fundamental stuff, right? So it's just thinking about the right things at the right times. So some of us naturally pick up other things more so than others, and meaning like everyone at your bracket is just different. Like everyone fucks up differently. It's really interesting. I talked about it in my earlier session. So. Okay, so you come back to mid, which is fine with me. Beastmaster's just level 5 here, chilling. Oh, he's level 6 now. Interesting. Okay. Get a kill. Cool. So now we Pudge. So immediately we got this kill. Pudge is dead. Tinker's dead. We have no TP, but we can push. Meaning like, so our only threat is Viper. We see 2 heroes top. Mid lane's pushed in.
Dire's structures are fortified.
We have nothing else to do on the map. We can't jungle. We're not going bottom because that means we're like playing the dead lane, which makes no sense. So this is a good rotation. Cool.
Radiant's top tower has been denied.
Now you can push this lane. Oh, where are we going? Let's see what's happening here. Full hood on Sniper Pog.
Safe.
Okay. So, what hero in this game of yours should you really never TP to get stuff done, and why?
To Viper, because she's the only one who can kill me.
I'm talking about on your own team.
In my team, Spectre, because she needs solo farm somewhere else.
But what's the
nothing's
beauty of
happened.
Spectre as a hero?
That she can come to the fight whenever she
Yeah,
wants.
she can go wherever the
She's
fight
safe.
is. So, why would you TP away from your teammates to go to a Spectre? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, this is something you can think about, right? So, it's kind of like Spectre and Tinker are both heroes that fit the description of, like, they enable the team to group up elsewhere because they can show up to the fight. So,
Yeah.
I'm not saying never TP to a Spectre's lane, but I'm saying the rule is never TP to a Spectre's lane. The exception is, if they're diving your Spectre, then sure, show up. But, like, you just
I guess
TP'd
that-
here
I thought
to
that
make a play.
I thought that's happening, because the Tinker was bottom, the Viper was bottom as well,
But are they diving her
and
already?
everybody left the top lane.
But
So
I assure you, why are they leaving?
because 3 heroes top.
Why are your teammates leaving this lane? Why is your Beastmaster walking this way? Because you are.
Okay,
Am I wrong?
we should have pushed it.
What if you just walk down the lane? Is this Beastmaster walking away?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? Like, he's just gonna be with you. Like, you could farm
Yeah.
this camp and farm it together. You can sit here waiting for someone to show up. He has Roar. But, like, if your playmaker has no help, he's not gonna go try to make a play. He's gonna go to the guy who helps him make plays. So he's gonna follow you,
Yeah.
right? So,
Mhm.
in this spot, are we jungling with our current scenario?
No.
Okay, so we're not juggling. We've eliminated that option. Like, yeah, that should be at the bottom of the list, but since it seems to be at the top of the list for people at your bracket, let's ask that question. We don't want to jungle. So our choices are to fight bottom with our Spectre, or to push in mid, which we're not going to pressure, but we can just push it out. But there's nothing to deal with that lane right now, meaning like that lane's not pushed into our tower, right?
Yeah.
Not yet. It's going to be there eventually because it is pushing. Or to go play top. That's our 3 choices. So then when we look at our 3 heroes, or look at our 5 heroes, excuse me, why would we ever go to Spectre, right? And then we have a Beastmaster with Roar. Let's play with him. And he's right here. Cool. Let's go here. We just got a kill on Underlord top. Let's play here. And we see Viper bottom. Viper's a hero that we want to make react to us, not the other way around. Am I right?
Yeah.
Like, Viper is... What's Viper's weakness?
Getting attacked by 3 heroes or
But,
2
like,
heroes.
what is that hero bad at? What is that hero good at?
Chasing down people.
Is he good at chasing?
I think so,
He's like 280 move speed.
but he's got a slow.
So maybe once he attacks you, sure. But like, what's his issue? Getting the attack off in the first place. He has no catch. He's slow. He lacks mobility.
Yeah.
So when you're against slow, mobility-less heroes, what's their weakness?
Range.
Dealing with you, trying to find you, catch up to
The
you.
sniper.
So do we fight directly into those heroes, or do we make them fight to us?
Let them come to us.
Yeah, make them come to us. Because they don't want to do that. Because they're slow. And once he TP's top, what happens to Viper? He's stuck there.
She's dead.
He's stuck there. He's not necessarily dead, but he's stuck there. So if we force Viper to TP top, what else can we do? We can just go somewhere else.
Mid.
We can just go somewhere else. Doesn't matter where, somewhere else. But like the heroes like Viper, Timbersaw, but he's like more mobile, but Timbersaw's similar, Bristleback. All of these heroes are super tanky, so your option to deal with them is to either kill them with like 4 heroes or ignore them. That's like your 2 choices. With Viper specifically, the reason why Viper's not picked and like at our bracket is because people just ignore him. Like, let him be a Viper. He doesn't push my tower. He doesn't do anything. He's a Viper. So let me go push the tower and force him to TP and then leave. He's 280 move speed with no damage to towers. So in your bracket, though, people run into the Viper and try to fight him, and then they're like, Viper OP. Like, no.
That's a really good explanation from you. Thank you very much.
Yes. So this is an example of these are the kind of things you need to think about when making the decision. But like when you ask me what the correct decisions are in your games and stuff, you see how I can't give you an over-encompassing answer, right?
Yeah.
So we want to think about who are we making plays with, and every time we make a play, why, and then we'll eventually start to over-experience. Like, from what you should have learned from this experience is, why did I go to my Spectre? So next time you have a Spectre on your team, you don't go to the Spectre. Exactly, right? So I don't mind if you make this mistake. You tried to make a play, because we were in a spot where I literally said, you can't jungle, so we have to make a play somewhere. So I don't hate this mistake, because this mistake is way better than jungling.
Definitely.
Meaning, like, it meant you were trying to do something, but now we made the wrong choice, and the next step is, like, making the right choice. So, just thinking about what heroes... Yeah, exactly. So, thinking about what heroes want you to be with them and what heroes don't is a nice awareness thing that you can work on slowly but surely, and it's not going to be perfect. But, like, because... Who on your team is the playmakers, would you say, if you look at your team? Before Earthshaker Blink, who on your team makes plays? Like, if plays are made, what heroes on your team will 100% of the time be there?
The Beastmaster.
Okay, and who else?
The Night Stalker. 100%. The Spectre with his ultimate.
I would say you.
I don't.
I would say Beastmaster and you are the 2 heroes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you not going to be at every single engagement because you have a Spectre? Like, if Spectre has Haunt, you should be fighting as 4, forcing a fight where she can Haunt to. And if she doesn't have Haunt, you need to create space for her while she doesn't have Haunt. So, only 1 or 2 heroes max can get space. What heroes on your team need space this game? Spectre and...
Spec. The Earthshaker for his Blink.
Yeah, exactly. So, you and Beastmaster, most importantly, will always be at the fights. And if it's nighttime, Nightstalker will be at them. So, if you go bottom, where's the fight going to be?
Bottom.
Is it a coincidence? I don't care if this guy's 2K. Like, people are at least aware enough in this game, even at 2K, to follow you around when they're supposed to be with you. Okay?
Yeah.
Why is Beastmaster bottom?
Because I am bottom.
Because you're bottom. Do we want fights to be bottom? What tower is, like, always
Spectre
easier
is
to
there.
take, right? Like, it's always easier to take this tower because of our understanding of dead lane, and our Spectre's bottom. So, let her be. The only time we would ever take bottom tower in this type of scenario, like a good exception, would be if they're diving bottom tower, you guys TP in, you kill 2 of them, and then you turn that into a push. But it started with you counterplaying them. You see what I'm saying? So, like, it's in your safe lane, it starts with a counterplay, leads to a play. Top lane is where we make the plays. Top or mid? Mid, there is no play to make, because you already took the tower. So top and mid are where we make plays. Bottom is counterplays. So... in this case, you said you, like, thought they might be diving Spectre. None of their heroes kill Spectre instantly. So, you know,
Yeah. I
let
could
them
wait
prove
until
that they're diving,
under
you know what I
my
mean?
tower. Yeah.
No overreactions. So now we're just in this awkward spot because we're on the wrong side of the map. Earthshaker's sitting here, Spectre's sitting here, Nightstalker's the one farming mid. And we're just at a standstill with nothing happening. And these type of scenarios happen when we're on the wrong side of the map. That's all it is. So, luckily, the other team's response, instead of just pushing other lanes, is to sit there and then feed, right? Like that. You see how that's their mistake, right? Like, why are they just sitting here feeding? But, you know, that's what happens.
Attacks under attack.
So now we go top after we push that tower, which, if this was like a normal push, I'd be fine with. This is good. You and Beastmaster always at plays. Notice that. Push top.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's
Where should your Spectre be right now?
fortified. Radiant structures are fortified.
So remember how I said there's always the playmakers, and then there's like the guy who's farming passively, right?
Yeah.
So when you're farming passively, what are your two choices?
Either go into the jungle or he should farm the mid lane now.
Yes, so is it his job to not let this tower take damage?
Nope, it's mine.
Is it?
Still, probably.
No, it's you're the one that plays.
Okay.
You're making plays. I'm
Yeah.
asking you for your own sake. Where should Spectre be? It's mid, right?
In mid, yeah.
You need to know how to play when you're the playmaker, and you need to know how to play when you're not the playmaker. When you're the playmaker, you go to the lane and push it that you want to make a play in. When you're not the playmaker, you need to enable your team to make plays by relieving pressure. You relieve pressure by defending lanes. So, is it safe for him to go bottom on Spectre?
No.
No.
Because they're pushing.
Yes, so he
Okay.
should be at the lane that isn't safe. Or, sorry, that is safe. It's very rare that the enemy team can equally threaten both lanes. At the very least, maybe he can't farm this wave. What can he do? Dagger it and, like, run away kind of thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at least dagger it, at least nuke it. Like, do something. Don't just let creeps kill the tower. Like, this is all Spectre right here. I'm showing you from your perspective. If you're Invoker last game and this is what your team's doing, this should not be happening.
I am mid.
Yes, exactly, right? So it's either cleanup
Coming,
crew
bro. No.
or... And when is the Spectre allowed to jungle, right?
It's under attack.
When this lane's getting pushed and it's in danger, like, he can't do it because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Or, and this lane's, like, right here.
No.
That's like, and then he can jungle, right? It's like that thought process of, okay, bottom lane can't go there, mid lane don't need to go there, jungle.
No.
Meanwhile, you're doing the right thing. I'm asking you about Spectre because you made the same mistake last game.
No.
And now you guys are all TPing bottom, which is, this is all trash. What's there to do here? Now we just have both of our playmakers here. Maybe Tinker will feed. Well, okay. So,
What a game.
like, the point is, you see this, right? Like, you see how it's so awkward to make plays down here. So the rule is to never make plays down here. The exception is when there's a unique opportunity to make a play down here. So the reason why I talk about the game in rules and exceptions is when you create an exception, there needs to be like a very specific occurrence of what's happening. Like, you should have a rule of how you play the game, and then something in the game made it so that you don't do it that way, right?
Yeah.
But it had to be a specific occurrence. Like, something actually had to change your mind to make you go do that. And you just keep kind of TPing bottom. That's what you keep doing. You just kind of go bottom, and you're like, let's play around here. And I'm just like, why? Why aren't you just top, pushing this in, killing whoever shows up, warding this side of the map? Let Spectre take this farm and this farm. Like, your Night Stalker TP'd in and fed, then you guys TP'd in and, like, kind of fed because it's 3v1 and you lost a guy. Like, meanwhile, the enemy team's just farming, right? Like,
The best thing would be to stick top and push the T2 while
yeah,
they're pushing T1.
pressure it,
bottom,
right? You don't necessarily have to
Yeah.
push it, but force them to
Yeah,
come
okay.
back, right? Force them to come
Alright.
back. Let your team take... You're making an aggressive play. Sometimes that aggressive play can be pushing the tower. Sometimes you're not strong enough to push the tower, so all you can do is push the creep wave into the tower, right? Like, it just matters to know that the aggressive play is top while the defensive play is bottom. And then judging whether or not, or how aggressive you should be is the next step. So luckily for you, the enemy team just likes to TP in here and feed. I feel like the same thing should be happening top rather than bottom.
Yeah.
Fresh meat.
Like, this tier 2 doesn't do anything for you guys. I don't know how to explain it, but if you really think about map control, this tier 2 offers nothing. Like, what
That's
can...
almost the last.
Like this shrine offers the same thing to the enemy team as this tier 2. So it doesn't actually offer anything to take it. Okay. So
That was a weird routing.
that was kind of just weird. So we just fought. This is map awareness, right? So let's rewind to how this started. So we're here. It should be on top, but doesn't matter. We're here now.
Dire's bottom tower.
So we force reactions. We see these 3 heroes. Where, if you look at their side of the map, where is safe and where is dangerous? For the next 80
The
seconds.
shrine area to the T2 mid
Right here?
is dangerous.
Okay. For 80 seconds, right? Because you forced a TP.
Until the TPs are on cooldown.
Yes, so it's 80 seconds. So for the next 80 seconds, this is what you can think about when somebody TPs in your face. This is like, I'm trying to give you a bunch of random different triggers for what to think about when it happens in the game. When
That's
somebody
really
TPs
cool.
in front of your face, right? You have 80 seconds where wherever they TP to is where they can be, and the other half of the map they can't be. Unless they walk there, right? So the next step of that awareness is like knowing how long it takes them to walk there. And then you can like kind of know how long you can play top for or whatever. So for the next 80 seconds, danger, safety, danger, safety. So a great way to punish this TP is by pushing in mid, right?
Yeah.
Because we can push in mid and top. So we push in mid, and then danger, safety,
Still danger. Yeah.
danger, safety. You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's how map awareness works. I'm just fast forwarding until something bad happens because it's more efficient this way. You can just rewind and see what led up to your bad decision.
Bad lane.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom
So at this point, against this lineup, the only thing you guys can really do wrong, honestly, in any lane and against any lineup, is farming 3 lanes. The only time you're allowed to farm 3 lanes is if you are like 20k gold ahead or some shit. If you farm 3 lanes, somebody's gonna die, and that's what happened.
Radiant are scanning.
So,
Exactly.
and that's kind of what keeps happening here. So this is kind of something that's hard to deal with in your bracket. So I generally don't recommend picking heroes like Sniper, because in your bracket, the sad reality is that you can't aggressively split push on Sniper ever. Like, if you aggressively split push, it's with your team behind you, and you're like not split pushing necessarily, you're just threatening objectives, right? With your team behind you. So I like picking heroes like Invoker, like Jug, like OD even. Or like I'm talking about mid laners too. You can pick Quap, you can pick Puck, you can pick, you know, all these heroes. The similarities they have is that they clear waves and they do it in a survivable way. So once I teach you where to be on the map, which we've already talked a lot of, now it's a matter of when your team's all separated doing their random shenanigans, if you can't get them to group up and you're Sniper, you're kind of just boned. You're just stuck playing really safe on the map. Like, that's all you can do. But if you're like an Invoker or a Quap or something, you can constantly be pushing this lane in without your team doing the right thing. But regardless, you have been doing the wrong thing pretty much all game. So the point though is, I highly recommend you watch the session back. It'll be up on YouTube, you know, for free. And you just have to watch all the times. The goal is to teach you what to think about at the right times. So every time something happened in the game, what was supposed to go through my mind when that happened? When I'm thinking about my lane, like, first off, I say creep aggro. First and foremost, you have to learn the mechanics of always creep aggroing. Like that for anybody, you know, learning about it. The second step is, what does creep aggro do for me in this lane? It's really not that hard if you think about it. Like, I'm against Tinker. How does he win the lane? He lasers me. How can I prevent him from lasering me? Drag the creeps away from him so he has to walk farther up to laser me. Like, every lane is the same. It's like if I'm a melee hero laning against Earthshaker. Well, if I walk up to him, he wins the lane by enchant toteming on top of me and hitting me. So I have to drag the creeps away from him so he can't enchant totem on top of me and hit me. So, like, you know, it's like, but if I'm the Earthshaker, I want to creep aggro to pull the lane to my range creep, because I want the guy to walk up and get enchant totem by me. So I'm going to get my range creep low, and if he walks up to kill my range creep, I'm going to enchant totem him and deny it. Like, crazy, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, all you have to do is think, like, what does this hero do to win the lane? How does creep aggro manipulate that in some way? Like, how do I minimize his advantages? How do I capitalize on his disadvantages? Right? So certain heroes suffer because they have low mobility. So if I pull creeps towards me, like say I'm a jug, what do I want to do to win the lane? I want to spin on top of the guy. So I can use creep aggro so that he has to come closer to me so that I can spin him, right? Like, that's crazy, right? That makes sense. But like, all you have to do is think about it that way. So all I'm saying is, though, all these things, the goal is make you think about the right thing. So that's how, like, the longevity of this coaching session will, like, meaning it'll help you over a longer period of time. It'll help you do more things if you think about why you're supposed to be thinking about certain things rather than me trying to teach you all these things. So any questions before we wrap up your 30th birthday present coaching session, sir? Happy birthday again, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are so many thoughts which have to come to mind.
Yeah.
So it's really good to play more focused, you know?
Yeah,
Play
do
more,
one thing at a time. I'm emphasizing that
thinking about
again.
the
If you try to do all of this, you're just going to shit yourself.
Yeah, totally. But
So
really thinking about the game and the where to be, and I think I really learned a lot today, man.
right on, dude.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
no.
much.
So that's why my emphasis was watch back the coaching session and like just watch the first 20 minutes where we talk about all the things you need to think about in the laning stage and just worry about that for a week, you know?
Yeah.
And then pull up the coaching session again and do the next 20 minutes, you know? That's what I mean by that. So cool, man. Happy birthday again.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you signing up, or
Thank you
you know,
very
your
much.
friend signing you up, and have a good one, dude.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.